It just flipped, and big changes for Social Security, Medicare, and these programs are likely going to be coming here very soon. And this is pretty shocking because I think the overall sentiment was that Congress was going to be able to come to some sort of agreement on these provisions before we go into a default, and now all of that's starting to change. Congressional leaders themselves are questioning what the future is going to be holding. They're thinking we might actually, for the first time ever in U.S. history, go into a default on our debt. And this is not just going to impact Social Security and Medicare. This is going to impact the entire world. Now, I have got a video sponsored today I'm going to be sharing with you guys that I think hopefully can help some of you out with your investments. But more on that in just a little bit. Let's take a look at these headlines and what's coming out. Now, will the government cut Social Security Medicare spending? The GOP seeks to extract concessions from Democrats on cuts for social programs before agreeing to increase the debt ceiling. Now, this strategy could backfire, and here's why. Because the White House warns the GOP not to tie the debt ceiling to Social Security cuts, and in exchange for not crashing the United States economy, you get nothing. You do not get a cookie for threatening to crash the economy to try to make cuts to social programs, they say. Now, let me know your thoughts here. What we have are two opposing parties trying to negotiate that are extremely polar opposite and stubborn in their stances. Conservatives saying we need to cut back, inflation is out of control. Democrats saying no, we cannot cut benefits to people who need it the most. And take a look, if they can't come to an agreement, the debt default would cost 6 million jobs, push jobless rates to 7%, analysis says. And Democrats, they're the extreme polar opposite. Democrats are pushing to eliminate the debt ceiling altogether, allowing unlimited government borrowing. And the Senate GOP right now, to Kevin McCarthy, is saying the debt fight, it's all yours. Now, keep in mind the fact this is the same Kevin McCarthy that was denied the Speaker of the House position over and over and over and over, and yet he pushed through. And they're saying this is one stubborn individual, and they're seeing no signs of concession from either side at this time, which is causing people to suddenly realize we could be looking at a default if they cannot come to an agreement. Now, the debt limit fight actually risks an early end to the Fed quantitative tightening. Even the Federal Reserve is saying we might need to entirely U-turn our strategy, because if we go into a default, this is going to be devastating for the global economy. We might actually need to open up the floodgates and again, pour out quantitative easing and provide stimulus to the economy, because we're going to be hurting so bad if they do not make a change here. Now, Joe Manchin is saying that this Social Security change would be easiest and quickest. All the different congressional leaders are starting to pour in and make suggestions for Social Security and Medicare, because what the debt ceiling negotiations may mean for benefits could be devastating. And across the board, we're seeing economic barometers warning that the U.S. recession could come soon. So Ram fam, I told you there was going to be bad news coming this year, but I didn't realize it was going to be this bad. Bank of America is warning that the S&P 500 could provide zero returns in 2023 and beyond. And with the housing market screeching to a halt, investors are starting to run out of options. Inflation and the economy are probably hammering your portfolio and your 401k. Now, surely, the Goldman Sachs and the Bank of Americas of the world are not just going to be sitting back taking these types of losses. So, what are they doing to prevent them? Well, drum roll please. Diversifying as much as 30% of their portfolio outside of the stock market into alternative physical assets like fine art. And with the award-winning company called Masterworks, you can do the same without knowing anything about art. This award-winning startup in New York City's financial district allows you to invest in contemporary art at a fraction of the cost. Why art? Over the last 26 years, contemporary art prices have outpaced the S&P 500 by 131%. And experts from Deloitte expect that the global value of art as an asset class will increase by 58% within the next 3 years. So while the markets were suffering massive losses for most of 2022, Masterworks sold 9 paintings for returns of 9%, 10%, 13%, 17%, 21%, 27%, 33%, 35%, and 36%, delivering tens of millions of dollars to their investors. These results have caught the attention of Forbes, CNN, CNBC, and more. And now demand has reached a point where Masterworks is looking to acquire new art every single week. Over 617,000 people have signed up so far, and now you can skip the waitlist and claim your own free no-obligation account at the link in the description below. So thank you to today's video sponsor. I hope they're able to help out a ton of my viewing community safe haven their investments. Now, take a look at these articles giving us an update on where things stand with these negotiations, the debt ceiling, Social Security, and Medicare. It says, White House warns GOP not to tie the debt ceiling to the Social Security cuts. And it says Democrats are warning Republicans they will not negotiate raising the debt ceiling to avoid economic catastrophe after Republicans spent the last months warning that they may pursue cuts to key social programs by holding the debt limit legislation hostage. And yes, we're talking about Social Security and Medicare. Now, on Friday, last week, the White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said that Congress must pass legislation raising the debt ceiling without conditions. It's not that the White House will be hard on Republicans at the negotiating table, she said. Rather, there will not be any negotiations to begin with. We will not be doing any negotiations over the debt ceiling, she said. This is not a political gameship. This should be done without conditions. And that's how we plan to proceed moving forward. So we have two opposing parties, very stubborn in their stance, not willing to come to concessions in any form right now. And this is why people are questioning the future of our nation's economy. Now, Karine Jean-Pierre's comments come in response to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's announcement that the U.S. will be reaching the spending limit on Thursday, January 19th, which we have hit, and that the agency will have to begin taking extraordinary measures to delay a debt default, which we are, which would be economically ruinous. Those measures will give Congress until June to reach a deal, she said, which is less time than economists have predicted that Congress actually has. Now, we will see, because we've hit all of those things. We're now waiting to see when the X date comes up, and that is when we actually hit a default. And hopefully we can get this all resolved before that actually happens. But right now, it's not looking promising. Knowing that the debt default would be a catastrophe and would trigger a recession, Republicans began laying out their plans to force through their demands before they even won control of the chamber. And Kevin McCarthy is leading the charge. Now, to let you know what could unfold here, take a look at this article. A debt default would cost 6 million jobs, push jobless rates to 7%, analysis says. The U.S. economy could suffer an economic hit compared to 2007-2008's financial crisis and a recession if the federal government defaults on its debt, according to analysis released on Monday this week. Mark Zandi, chief economist of Moody's Analytics, estimated that the U.S. would lose 6 million jobs, $12 trillion in household wealth, and 4% of gross domestic product if Congress and the White House fail to raise the federal debt limit before the U.S. runs out of cash. The unemployment rate would also rise to at least 7%, up from December of 2022's rate of 3.5%. Now, while a brief default would likely be enough in its own to cause a recession, Zandi warns that a protracted standoff over the debt ceiling could be ruinous for a vulnerable U.S. economy. If policymakers actually do fail to increase or suspend the debt limit before the Treasury runs out of cash and defaults on its obligations, interest rates will spike, the stock prices will crater with enormous costs to taxpayers and the economy. If lawmakers do not reverse course and the impasse drags on for even a few weeks, the hit to the economy would be cataclysmic. So now let's talk about how this is going to be directly impacting Social Security and Medicare. As Republicans are saying they want to make cuts to help balance the budget, Democrats are saying no, we cannot make cuts to those programs. And we've also heard others say we can make cuts to other things, but Democrats, a lot of them are saying no, we just need to have no budget whatsoever. Get rid of the debt ceiling and have unlimited spending. Well, here's a suggestion that just came out from Senator Joe Manchin. He said this is the quickest and easiest way to get through this. Now that the U.S. has hit the debt ceiling, lawmakers need to revisit the federal budget and find ways to make cuts, Senator Joe Manchin, a Democrat representing West Virginia, said in an interview this weekend. But that should not include cuts to Social Security and Medicare benefits, he said. I've got 60% of my population. That's all that they have is Medicare and Social Security, he said. You think I'm going to go down that path and put them in jeopardy? No, he said. In a separate interview, Manchin called for key change to help shore up Social Security ailing funds, raising the cap on payroll taxes that are used to fund the program. The easiest and quickest thing that we can do is raise the cap, he said, while also curbing wasteful spending. So they're saying increase the taxes. We need to provide additional taxation, increase the cap so that way more taxes, more money, more funding can go to Social Security, and we can do that in a way without cutting the benefits and still be able to provide those to the recipients. Now, let me know your thoughts. That would mean taxation for more people across the board to be able to help fund the program. What we're hearing, though, is that still might not be enough. But let me know your thoughts. That is currently one of the things that's proposed on the table, just going out. Increase the taxes. Now, how long do they have to figure this out? Well, both programs face the prospect of a funding shortfall in the coming years if lawmakers fail to act. Social Security's combined trust funds are projected to become depleted by 2035, at which point only 80% of the benefits will be payable according to the annual report released in June. So what you're supposed to receive, you'll only get 80% of that across the board. The funds that cover Medicare Part A, which pays for the inpatient hospital care and other services, will be able to pay full benefits until 2028. So this is going to run out even sooner, after which point only 90% of benefits will be payable. Social Security and Medicare basically is running out of cash because we stop at a certain level where people pay into FICA. And other Democrats have also proposed raising payroll taxes to help shore up Social Security. Senator Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, they have proposed reapplying payroll taxes for those earning over $250,000, along with a host of other changes to shore up the program. A separate bill to reform the program was also provided by Larson, and he calls for applying payroll taxes starting at over $400,000. And I've covered all of these proposals for you, these bills that have been presented: the Social Security Expansion Act, the Social Security 2100 Act. There's been an assortment of different ones that have come to the table, some of which are also calling to enhance the benefits by an additional $200 per month. Let me know in the comments, what do you think is going to be unfolding with these negotiations? Are we going to be entering into a default? Are they going to come to an agreement? And if they do, is Social Security and Medicare going to be on the line? What do you think is going to happen? Who do you think is going to budge? Well, we will see, but it looks like one way or the other, there are going to be big changes coming to Social Security, and I'll keep you up to date every step of the way. Now, in addition to that, I let you know about things happening right now with taxation for Social Security. Check out this video next if you missed it, so that way you can know, because it is officially tax season now in 2023. So check out this video next to not miss out on any details. And if you made it this far and haven't already, don't forget, smash the like button, subscribe. I'll keep you up to date on everything. And thank you so much for joining me, you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.